So there are different ways for me to try and upgrade an artifact here. For example, over here, I am going to try and start at um, level 0, I guess. And with this artifact, you'll notice that there is no defense substat. If there is a defense substat, there's a higher chance that when upgrading, it'll upgrade defense because it tends to favor that over everything else. But right here, although there's no crit rate, there is crit damage. So I would like to upgrade the crit damage. So if I add a few things to automatically upgrade, I'm not really worried about the stats of what I'm using at this point over here because I'm waiting until I get to the point where we're going to get to level 4. So at this point over here, this is where I'm going to pay attention very carefully to what I use, specifically the main stat and the substat. Now, first thing to pay attention to is the type of artifact that you are upgrading. Pay attention to what kind it is, like if it's a Noblesse Oblige or if it's like the Heart of Depth or something else, doesn't really matter. Try to choose artifact types that don't match that. And if you can, if you're upgrading like a flower, try to use the other kinds like the feather or the circlet as well. But if you're using the flower, there are two ways to do this. Either you can use just flowers and then make them all different kinds. Or if you're not going to do that, make sure they're completely different, at least that there's some difference, like a flower, a feather, a circlet, and also make them different kinds. That doesn't matter if you're just going to use a 5-star. I noticed that using the 5-star flowers works quite well. If there is a defense substat on the flowers, there's a bit of a risk there, but sometimes you're lucky. So try to use the 5-star flowers. Try to make them different kinds if you can, like the Heart of Depth and the Emblem of Severed Fate. And then let's see what happens here. So right now, I was looking at this one. There's a defense substat, so I don't want that because there's a chance that it's going to add defense. So I'm just going to ignore that one. I'll look at this one. There is defense, so I don't want to use that. So I'm just going to keep looking until I find something that doesn't have defense. A lot of these have defense substats. It's pretty difficult to find one that doesn't have it. And even if you sacrifice one that has pretty good substats so that you don't have to get it, just remember that this is for an artifact that you really definitely need and not one that you want to save for later because you might use it. So there is a bit of sacrificing, but it's worth it. So I'm struggling right now to find a flower that doesn't have a defense substat. So maybe I'll just take the risk and just get them with defense. But here's one that doesn't have defense. So I'll use that. And hey, we got crit damage. So that's pretty amazing. That's good. Now for the next one over here, I did find that you're more likely to get this good luck if you're going from level 0 to level 4. When you're jumping from 4 to 8 or 8 to 12, it gets harder. But just for the sake of showing in the video, I'm going to go from 0 to 4 because there's more luck that way. So this one here, again, I'm not really caring about what I'm using here. So I'm just waiting until I get to level 4. And then I'm going to choose what I want over here. So I'm hoping to get crit rate, maybe crit damage as the 4th substat. So again, I'm using a 5-star flower, trying to avoid the defense substat over here. So let's see what happens. And we get crit rate, so that's amazing. For the next one over here, I was going for okay, so there is defense substat and it has crit damage. So I'm hoping that we can get crit rate. But because there is defense substat, there is a chance that it's going to give me something else that I really don't want, like flat attack or something like that. So hopefully I can get crit rate, but there's a very good chance that when I get from level 4 to level 8, it'll upgrade the defense substat. So let's see what happens here. In this case, I am going to specifically choose the 5 stars. Before, I was just sacrificing random things, auto-adding, and then when I get to the last one, then I choose. So this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to specifically choose 5 stars all the way to get to level 4, because that is something that you can do as well, and then you have a bit more control. So right now, I'm going to try and get different kinds of artifacts, and then with each of them, different types, like a flower, a feather, a circlet. And I'll see what happens. So here, it's a feather. It does have defense. I don't really like that, but I could just take a chance and see what happens, because since I'm using the 5 stars, then it might feel sorry for me and ignore the fact that it has defense substats. Um, but let's see what happens. So over here, there is a feather. It's got defense, but it does have crit damage in it, so that could help. Here's a different kind. So far, you'll see that we have a flower, a feather, and I think that's sands. And there are 2 different kinds, or 3 different kinds here. So we have Noblesse, I think that's Thundering Fury or something else, and then Wondrous Troop. So it's 3 different kinds and 3 different types at the same time. Some of them did have defense, but they're very different, and they're 5 stars, so maybe that'll override the luck of having the defense substat. So let's see here. I think I'll just need to choose one more, maybe a circlet. It is a Wondrous Troop, but it's fine because the others were different already. So let's see. Yeah, I think we need one more. Maybe a different kind over here will just help a bit more. Yeah, it has defense, substat, but let's take a chance because there are 5 stars and very different. So let's see what happens. So here we're upgrading a flower. It is Noblesse. So I'm not really caring about what I'm using here. Just going until I get to level 4. But here, it'll bring me to level 4 and I haven't checked. So let me just double check what's going on here. This is fine. There's no defense. But here there's defense, so I'm removing that. Removing the defense. That's fine. But there's defense here, so I'm going to remove that. Defense, remove it. I don't want to see any defense because there's already defense over here, so that's just going to compound the bad luck. So let me just look for some other random 5 star, because we have a 3 star, a 4 star, and a 5 star. And for some reason, having differences between what you're using tends to better your luck. So here we have different kinds, different types, different stars. But I am also just trying to avoid the defense as much as I can. There's no defense here, so that should be fine. Let's see what happens. Great, we got crit damage, so that's good.